I know in introduction I had mentioned to my audience about the new class of attacks that you've uncovered that can basically exfiltrate any data through a browser bypassing traditional DLP solutions. I wanted to tell us, how did you discover this vulnerability, and what does the future of these defenses reveal about the way enterprises are building their security?
Yeah, that's a great question. So maybe for those who are not aware, data splicing is a class of new techniques that allow insider threats and attackers as well to upload pretty much any file or copy paste any data that completely bypasses all enterprise DLP solutions. So the interesting thing is it doesn't leverage any kind of highly technical technique. It's using very kind of well-known techniques like encoding, encryption. And the way we discovered is we just, really looked at the architecture of existing enterprise DLP solution to understand how they work and how we can fundamentally break them, right? There's typically two solutions. The first one is endpoint DLP. And the way they actually look at anything in the browser is based on APIs that are exposed by the browser. So they're very limited to what a Chrome, Edge, Safari provides them. And very interestingly, you have to be whitelisted by, let's say, a Chrome to be able to access these APIs. So right now, there's actually only 2 vendors that have access to these. So everyone else is completely blind. And even the ones with these APIs have very limited access. Now, the second category is SASE SSD Cloud DLP. So the way they work is they will look at things like HTTP headers to figure out, okay, there's a file being uploaded. Let's cache these files and then, compare it with a bunch of regex. Now, regex has its own problems. I think that's a completely different story. But what you can do now is basically to prevent these SASE and SACC solutions from figuring out there's actually a file being uploaded. And one of the ways is to use binary streams. So your communication channels like gRPC, WebRTC that we're using to probably do this call as well. They're completely just binary streams, so there's no notion of files there. And as a result, there's no trigger for them to go ahead and inspect the data in there. And in fact, if you go to the website of major SASE and SSC providers, all of them will just tell you to disable these features, which you and I know is not realistic given there's so many web apps that leverage them. So a bunch of other techniques, including like encryption, they can't inspect it because they don't have the decryption key. And similarly, when it comes to regex, it's super easy to break using encoding and insertion techniques as well. So all these techniques, we started to see a lot of new platforms that are using this, like P2P sharing sites that pretty much allow people to upload any files freely regardless of the content.